Okay, class number 7, Hebrews. We're going to talk about Melchizedek today, but we're not going to try to focus on who he is. We'll talk about it, but that's the least important part of the argument. This is all the way in chapter 7. Melchizedek starts way back here in 5. You are a priest forever in the order of Melchizedek. Chapter 5, that's his big point, right? But you don't really know why he's bringing up Melchizedek until chapter 7. Because remember, he goes in on this rant, and then he breaks it, right? I got so much to say, but you guys are stupid and not paying attention. And, you don't seem to care at all. And then he goes on this track about back through the door and all that, like we did last week or 2 weeks ago. And then he comes back to Melchizedek. But even when he comes back to Melchizedek, which is right here, so you got to get all the way to the end of 6 before he's talking about Melchizedek again. But this is the key section. This is why, or rather, in the middle of 7, so not even the beginning of 7. But here's his point, and we'll just read it. Now, if perfection had been attainable through the Levitical priesthood, for under it the people received the law, what further need would there have been for another priest to arise in the order of Melchizedek and not in the order of Aaron? There's the question, right? What does this, if you break this apart, what is necessary? What is the thing we have to hit? Perfection, right? We have to get to perfection. This is right? Be perfect just like your heavenly Father is perfect. So somehow, here's our target. Right? There's your target. Perfect. Gotta be perfect. Wow. Okay. Alright. So, if that's the goal, if that's really what we need, without perfection, without holiness, no one will see God. Right? No one will see God. So, if perfection could have come through the Levitical priesthood, the law, right? That's where we get the law. They're based in the law. Most of the law is about the priesthood and about the sacrifices. Then what further need would there have been for another priest to come? So the question is, how do we know there was a further need? How do we know that? How do we know?
Because they kept probably looking for like atonement for their sins every year, like usual.
Sure, but okay. But how do we know this specifically? Sure, they're looking for atonement, they're looking for that, or they should be, right? But a lot of them, the Pharisees of Jesus' day, were totally satisfied with the law, seems like, right? But how do we know this had to happen after the law? How do we know this had to happen after the law? The answer to that question is Psalm 110. Psalm 110. Psalm 110.
Okay, guys, a question real quick then?
Yeah.
So the Melchizedek is after Moses and all that stuff?
No.
So this stuff's way before Moses?
Way before Moses.
Okay.
That's why it's right, so this
like
is
you're throwing something in there that's already something happening, huh?
It's way past, right? It's way after, so Psalm 110, yeah. So Psalm 110 is a Psalm of David, right? So we're going to get into the whole Melchizedek story, but he's going to show up in, I think it's Genesis 14. I think that's right. Genesis 14. And then we go dark. Like 0 Melchizedek. Doesn't show. In this story, he's there for like 3 verses. He's nobody. He's a random contact. That's it. He's gone for all history. We don't hear of him. He doesn't show back up in any stories. He's silent until Psalm 110. Psalm 110 is no joke. It's a big problem. Jesus quotes it. Who's David talking to? Right? Psalm 110. The Lord says to my Lord, sit at your right hand, sit at my right hand until I make your enemies your footstool. The Lord sends forth from Zion your mighty scepter. Rule in the midst of your enemies, he declares, right? So, big deal. Your people will offer themselves freely on the day of your power in holy garments. Yeah, how's that possible? From the womb of the morning, the dew of your youth will be yours. I must be in the ESV. Yeah. I'm like, why is that so hard to read? The Lord has sworn and will not change his mind. You are a priest forever in the order of Melchizedek. The Lord is at your right hand. He will shatter kings on the day of his wrath. He will execute judgment among the nations, filling them with corpses. He will shatter chiefs over the wide earth. He will drink from the brook by the way, therefore he will lift up his head. We have a victorious king priest. You will rule with a scepter. You're going to crush your enemies. I'm going to give you victory. You're going to raise your head after a war. You're going to ultimately be victorious. But he starts with the king. You're going to be the king and victorious. The scepter won't leave you. You're going to reign in righteousness, and you're a priest forever in the order of Melchizedek. Boom, all of a sudden Melchizedek's back, right? Melchizedek's back.
That's the Lord talking to David, right?
Well, David, no, it is and it isn't, because
The Lord says...
Yahweh...
Is he saying Yahweh to Yahweh or what?
No, this one is Adonai, I think. Yeah, that one's Adonai. So Yahweh, all the letters are capital.
Uh-huh.
Yahweh. Yahweh says to my Lord. And this right here is interesting because it's just a little mark in Hebrew, but it's personal. So Jesus says, whose son is the Messiah? Right? And they all answered, the Pharisees all answered, oh, he's David's son. They all know that. And then Jesus says, well then how is it that he calls him my Lord? This right here, my Lord. It's just a little, I think it's called a yod. It's just a little hash mark right here in Hebrew, but it makes it personal. So you wouldn't call your son my Lord. He has to be above you to be your Lord. It's not Yahweh. Yahweh says to, David's writing it.
So David's Lord, like his king?
Yes.
Like
he's my king.
Yeah.
Well, if he's David's son, then he's not David's king. David's king, right? It's somehow, so Jesus is like, so whose son is the Messiah? David's son. Well, how is it that David can call his son my Lord? It just wouldn't be done. And they're like, And so Jesus is pointing to this psalm and saying, well, that's one riddle of this psalm. But the bigger riddle of this psalm is in one character, sit at my right hand, that's kingship, until I make your enemies a footstool. The Lord sends forth from Zion your mighty scepter, rule in the midst of your enemies, right? So this is the command. Here's your scepter, rule among your, I'll go bring them to you, but you rule over them. And Now you're a priest in the order of Melchizedek. In Israel, the law, you couldn't have a priest king. As a matter of fact, that's why Saul gets kicked out and like, you're out. Because as the king, he also offered the sacrifices before the war. And Eli or Samuel, whoever which one it was, said, don't do that. Wait for me. I have to do the sacrifice bit. Saul's like, I'm not waiting anymore. And he does it, and God said, that's it. I'm taking it from you. That's Messiah stuff. So we have this riddle. So David opens this big can of worms. This is a can of worms. The fact that you have one character who is a king and a priest. And Melchizedek. So not just king priest, like somehow Judah and Levi are going to come together. No. The scepter, that's Genesis. Jacob, when he pronounces the blessings on his children, he pronounces the scepter to Judah long before Israel even had kings, hundreds of years before they had a king. And Melchizedek is also Genesis, and long before they had a priesthood. Melchizedek's there. Okay, so here's the author of Hebrews question, right? So, okay, and it's an oath. If you try to find oaths that God makes, that Yahweh is swearing, Yahweh, look, Yahweh, not the Lord, that's English. Yahweh has sworn. Find me another vow. This is a vow from God. The author of Hebrews is going to say, so that God was making his intentions perfectly clear. He did it with a vow. Like, he didn't want any confusion. He did it with a vow, and he swore, you're a priest forever in the order of Melchizedek. Find me another vow from God. Like, you can find a promise. You will have children. You can have statements. But this is, the Lord has sworn, like, and Hebrews is going to say, when someone swears, they always swear by someone greater than themselves. God had no, and here he's swearing to himself, you're a priest in the order of Melchizedek. Sit at my right hand. He will shatter kings on the day of his wrath. He will execute judgment among the nations. A righteous judgment, apparently, because he's a king priest.
So
And he'll be victorious, and in the end lift his head. Yeah.
So Saul was the only king before David and the first king of Israel, right?
Correct.
So David wouldn't be talking about Saul here at all? Like,
Oh no, Saul's out.
Okay,
Saul's
so-
a bad guy.
So we got to figure his character, the Lord, is not Yahweh, but my Lord? Is that what
Yeah,
you're
so
saying?
clearly they are going, so the Jews speculate. So they have a riddle. They have a riddle in Genesis, and we'll get to that. But they have a riddle here as well. But the author is going, okay, but by the time of David, you have Moses gets the law. Kings, priests are separate. The priesthood is the tribe of Levi, right? The tribe of Levi so you have, I'll try to go here. So you have Levi, they're the priests, right? They do the sacrifices which keep God at bay, right? Right? So this is it. So here it is. The law commands. It's not optional. Can't have someone other than a Levite be a priest. Only them. Only the priests can offer the sacrifices, and only the sacrifices can keep God off your back. You break this line, and you're getting sent into exile, or worse, right? Just killed. Earth open up, you get swallowed. This is the, There's no other way to make God happy. This is it, under the law. But before the law, no, forget before the law. This is it. This is Moses. Gives them this stuff. It's all in the law. It's all in Deuteronomy. Just read Deuteronomy, you'll get all that right there. But here comes David. Moses, Joshua, all the judges, so hundreds of years. Saul, David. We're now from Moses. David's in Jerusalem. He doesn't have a temple yet. Solomon's going to actually build the temple, right? So no real temple yet, but there's peace. David's reigning. The tabernacle's firmly established. All of that. David buys the land where the temple's going to be. The tabernacle's probably on that land already. David wants to build it. Like, David made plans. And then, nope, wait for Solomon. So David's like, it's set. This is set. The priesthood has been running 3 times as long as America's been running. That's a long time. They know what to do. This is father to son for a very long time, right? This is well established. David shows up and writes Psalm 110, and everyone, all the Jews recognize it as messianic. It's clearly messianic. It's clearly future. David says to my Lord, right? They're already looking for a Messiah figure. All this, the kingdom, when, peace and prosperity and, all that kind of thing. God's kingdom on earth. Well into that. And David has tons of messianic stuff, and the Jews totally recognize it as messianic prophecy. Jews today, Orthodox Jews, would point to David's stuff as messianic, like no question. The Pharisees of Jesus' day. Whose son is the Messiah? David's son. Right out the gate. There's no confusion. Like, no confusion. Messiah is coming after David. David wrote about him. He's David's son. He's in the line of David. Like, this is well-rehearsed material. Zero confusion. David says, in this psalm, that this is not enough. This is all broken. It's all bad. That has to go. When the Messiah comes, this is out. This is out? How could it be out? Like, how can it be out? Like, why does it have to be out? Because there'll be a new order of priesthood. Right? This is what he's going to argue in Hebrews. If David is prophesying that when the Messiah comes, it's going to be better. God's going to finally bring in his kingdom. And in the kingdom of God, there's going to be a totally different priesthood. And it won't be the Levites. Well, that means our entire system is wrong. The whole law. Like, if you just count the rules, there's 613 laws. I'll bet you dimes to dollars that 500 of those rules have to do with the temple and the priesthood and the sacrifices and what to do when you sin and deal with it right here. Like, the lion's share by far is all this. Well, this is out. What's the point of this? What was the point of all this if it's not? If when God comes, this is out, it's a real problem. So when David wrote this, we have the Jewish speculation on it. And they're like, who's Melchizedek? Right? So you can get Jewish speculation about Melchizedek and read some Second Temple stuff, and this is what, I forget what that guy's name was who said. But he's like, oh yeah, they speculated like he was, He's part of the Elohim. He's part of, they have wild speculation on who Melchizedek is. For two reasons. Because of the Abraham story, and we'll talk about that in a second, but also because of David. That's it. That's it. He's 3 verses or so in Genesis, and then Psalm 110. That's the whole entire exposure in the Old Testament. The major prophets don't pick him up. Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, like silence, just that. But that's huge. Psalm 110 is like one of the most quoted Psalms in the New Testament. Like what? Even Jesus, what do you do with Psalm 110? Answer that question. It's from David. It's clearly messianic. Clearly messianic. Whose son is he? How can David, Jesus says, how can David call him my Lord? He has to be higher than David. And if you read this, he's way higher than David because David could only be king. And Saul gets kicked out for being a king priest, and yet king priest is where we're headed. The argument in Hebrews is just picking up on all that, saying, how can there be a messianic promise that says, if this is good, why does it have to go away? Well, and it's going to go away because God has sworn and will not change his mind. You're a priest forever in the order of Melchizedek. So an eternal priesthood is coming in, singular, one Messiah, who will forever be the priest, and not in the order of Aaron. So let's go back. Let's go back to Hebrews. Are you following the problem?
What does Melchizedek mean?
What does it mean?
Yeah, have you researched that?
It is. Actually, the author of Hebrews is going to tell us what it means.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He goes into all of that.
Cool.
Well, I looked it up. I thought it was a king of righteousness.
Yeah.
Some people believe it's a title, too. It's not even a name.
Yeah, some people think it is a title.
So it's also, what I read was, he's king of Salem or Jerusalem, so he's also considered the king of peace.
Correct. Yeah, that's all right in
Okay.
Hebrews. Yeah, Hebrews, you're just quoting Hebrews, really.
Because after you read that, and I had that thought, that part from Psalm 110,
Yeah.
sounds more like an invitation to salvation, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know who the heck this Melchizedek is.
Yeah. But here's where the author of Hebrews, and this is where it doesn't matter who he is. It makes no difference. There's some fun discussions, we'll have those in a second, of who he is, but it's not relevant. What's relevant is God swore and will not change his mind. The Levitical priesthood is out, and a new priesthood is going to be when the Messiah comes. Levitical priesthood. So let's go back.
But he's also king. I think that's.
He's also king. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, king priest.
What do you do
Huge
with that?
deal.
Seems to me that's the Melchizedek riddle.
It is
He's king and priest.
correct.
How can this be?
That's right. And that's the question of the law. How is God going to get the kingship and the priesthood back together if the law clearly, unequivocally, to be a priest, you must be in the tribe of Levi. To be a king, you must be in the line of David, and squarely in the tribe of Judah. The twain shall never meet.
It's
Like you don't have a birthright for both. All right, so let's read some Hebrews again. Now, if perfection, here's the mandatory thing, had been attainable through the Levitical priesthood, for under it the people received the law, because Aaron and Moses, right, they're from the tribe of Levi. Aaron's the first high priest. So we get the law from the Levites, both Moses and Aaron are Levites. What further need would there have been for another priest to come? If the law was intended to be enough, if the law could, this could keep God at bay, but it could not. It could not. So there's so much involved in this argument. So under the law, if you read the law, you will see that the sacrifices cover your sin. They cover it, they hide it, they buy time. They buy time, but they never actually take it away. It can't remove it. It can't get put into the abyss, right? So Paul makes this argument in Romans 3. God stored up, God patiently waited and stored up and let the sacrifices just keep covering it. And the author of Hebrews is going to say the sacrifices are just a reminder that, man, you have a big debt piling up. What are you going to ultimately do? Like, ultimately, this thing's going to go bad, right? Because a generation's going to come, and they're going to fail, and all the weight of that's going to go crashing down, and God's wrath. God's wrath is always one bad sacrifice away. It's petrifying, right? It's petrifying. Like, God has done, the Jews have poured the wrath of God a number of times, and it's not good. It's not good. A new covenant is coming, and in the new covenant, I will remember your sin no more. Like, this will not even be a subject. Not a subject. How's it? The law can't get us to this covenant. The law can't get us here. So it has to be a new covenant and this has to go away, and we need a new priesthood, because this whole priesthood's based on the law, and the law can't stand. So you'll see. This is just, I'm just quoting Hebrews, really. Now, if perfection had been attainable through the Levitical priesthood, for under it the people received the law, what further need would there have been for another priest to arise in the order of Melchizedek? It's a question that has to be asked to this audience who wants to go back to the law. You want to go back to the law, but right in the Old Testament, the law is clearly pointed out as flawed, because right in the law, David points to a time when the whole Levitical system's done, and Melchizedek's in place. What are you going back to? You're clearly going back to a gap stop situation. Like, it's a terrible choice. Rather,
Dang, I see that.
what further need would there have been for another priest to arise in the order of Melchizedek, rather than one named after Aaron? Why isn't the Messiah coming just in the line of Aaron? Like, why wouldn't that make sense? Well, because this can never take away sin. It only can cover it. So, what a terrible thing if the Messiah came and sin still had its grip. For when there is a change in the priesthood, if you're going to change the priesthood, what do you have to do? There is necessarily a change in the law as well. How can you go back to the law when in the law, in the Old Testament, it says this thing's out, it's broken? When the Messiah comes, there'll be a whole new order of things and a whole new thing. No more sin and a whole new priesthood. So this is all out. But if this is out, you get the law from it, and really the law is about this. You have to change the whole law. The whole entire system is gone when the Messiah comes. If you're going to claim Jesus, these people aren't saying Jesus isn't the Messiah. They want Jesus and the law, right? They want the temple spectacular. Nowhere in here are they turning on Jesus. This is just law too, right? It's back to the law. But you have to change the law. That's why people that make the argument, 10 Commandments is in. Like, how do you have Jesus and part of the law, any part of the law? How do you have any part of that? How do you, we're gonna do Galatians starting Sunday. How do you carry
And churches do that
all the time? It's almost universal.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling.
And then the people can't handle it, they leave church, you know what I mean?
Well,
It's almost like a
or
backup
it
plan.
forces
Don't
you,
believe this,
forces
we're
you into guilt and self-righteousness. It just does. It forces you there. You have to judge people because you have to be better. You have to think of yourself as super good, or else God's always mad at you.
True.
And it brings with it all kinds of problems. You can't put them together.
But they're creating their own law of behavior, though, you know
Oh
what I
yeah,
mean?
of course.
And none of it is like biblical.
And they only choose what pieces of the law they want
that
to
they
keep.
Yeah.
can attain.
Am I gonna
Break it
just-
down between ceremonial,
Yeah.
And the Bible never does
there's
that.
like 3 different sections.
Yeah,
I do.
right.
I like how, it's either all the law or none.
On what
Yeah.
authority, like which law is the moral law?
Yes,
Which one's moral?
yes.
I said, give me your browser history and I'll let you know if you're a good one.
But I get it, it's hard,
Well, like, I mean.
Correct.
it's gotta be hard for these people too.
It's hard, like, wait a minute. God still wants us to be good, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Right,
Right?
exactly.
This is the real,
Yeah.
like, yes, of course he does. Well, what is good? Paul says the law is good.
Well, it
Yeah, but he doesn't mean it that way.
is good, but it's not salvation good, it's not.
But it's not even behavior good.
Good.
It's the wrong
Yeah.
model. All right, but we'll get into that Galatians. For the one of whom these things are spoken belonged to another tribe, meaning Jesus,
Yeah.
from which no one has ever served at the altar. Like Jesus isn't from
He's
Levi.
from a place of no priest, huh?
Yeah, like, for it is evident that our Lord descended from Judah, and in connection to that tribe, Moses says nothing about priests. So if he's priest,
Oh,
what kind of priest is he? He's a priest in the order of Melchizedek. This becomes even more evident when another priest arises in the likeness of Melchizedek, who has become a priest not on the basis of the legal requirements concerning descent through a tribe,
Right.
bodily descent, but by the power of an indestructible life. For it is witnessed of him, now here we go, okay, I'm going to switch back to the NIV. For it is declared, you are a priest forever in the order of Melchizedek. He repeats this like 4 or 5 times in Hebrews. Like, the former regulation, he's going to say it again, the former regulation is set aside because it was weak and useless. For the law made nothing perfect. It covered things, but it didn't make things perfect. And that's going to be his first argument is, if you have to keep doing something again and again, how can you call it everlasting?
It's kind of like paying the interest.
An everlasting
Oh.
gobstopper literally can't
Yeah.
eat it in a half hour, or it's not an everlasting gobstopper, everlasting
It
gobstopper.
pays the interest on your debt, but it never gets the debt paid for.
Yeah, right, exactly. A better hope is introduced by which we draw near to God. We're going to draw near to God through a different priesthood
Yeah.
than this one. Because the best this priesthood could even do is keep God at bay. Keep him at bay. It couldn't satisfy him. It couldn't ever bring peace. It couldn't do anything. Again, the Lord has sworn he will not change his mind. You are a priest forever. Because of this oath, Jesus has become the guarantee of a better covenant. Right? So now we're going to get into the new covenant bit. Now there have been many of those priests. Okay, I don't want to go, because
Okay,
that's going to shift. So let me go backwards now.
When he says priests,
Yeah.
is he's like implying that his believers are priests? Is that what he's implying? Like,
No,
you're a priest forever? So he's talking about just a
Melchizedek,
singular.
the Messiah.
Okay.
This promise of Psalm
Yeah.
110
Jesus.
to the Messiah,
Yeah.
Jesus, correct. All right, so backing up before all that, this is chapter 7. Okay, let's start here. This is where he picks it back up, okay? So this was our previous section. So I'm in the middle of 6 now, okay? When God had made his promise to Abraham, since there was no one greater for him to swear by, he swore by himself, saying, I will surely bless you and give you many descendants. And so after waiting patiently, Abraham received what was promised. We all know those stories, I think. People swear by someone greater than themselves, and the oath confirms what is said and puts an end to all argument. Because God wanted to make the unchanging nature of his purpose very clear to the heirs of what was promised, he confirmed it with an oath. God did this so that by two unchangeable things, in which it is impossible for God to lie, we who have fled to take hold of this hope set before us may be greatly encouraged. We have this hope as an anchor for the soul, firm and secure. It enters the inner sanctuary behind the curtain where our forerunner Jesus has entered on our behalf. He has become a high priest in the order of Melchizedek. This Melchizedek was the king of Salem and priest of God Most High. He met Abraham returning from the defeat of kings and blessed him. And Abraham gave him a tenth of everything. First, the name Melchizedek means king of righteousness. Then also, king of Salem means king of peace. Without father or mother, without genealogy, without beginning of days or end of life.
Wow.
Resembling
This is.
the Son of God.
Fucking
He remains a priest forever. All right, now, is it the Son of God?
resembling.
Resembling. Almost has to be, but it's resembling the Son of
Good,
God.
good.
So, yeah, we'll get into that. But let's go to the story. He remains a priest forever. Just think how great he was. Even the patriarch Abraham gave him a tenth of the plunder. Now the law requires that descendants of Levi who become priests to collect a tenth from the people, that is, from their fellow Israelites, even though they also are descended from Abraham. This man, however, did not trace his descendant from Levi, yet he collected a tenth from Abraham and blessed him who had the promises. And without doubt, the lesser is blessed by the greater. In the one case, a tenth is collected by the people who die, but in the other case, by him who is declared to be living. One might even say that Levi, who collects a tenth, paid a tenth through Abraham. Because when Melchizedek met Abraham, Levi was still in the body of his ancestor. And then we get into what we've already talked about.
Wow.
Okay, so we have this story, right? We have this story. The camera I'm only about to hear, so I can't use the whole whiteboard. We have this story.
You want to see the rest of it? You want to see the rest of it show up so you can see
Yeah,
it?
right, exactly. So we have this story, and let's just find it. I'm pretty sure it's Genesis 14. Abraham rescues Lot. Yeah, this is it. So right here.
So that author is very aware of the Melchizedek story, though. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So the Hebrews.
Well, the Hebrews
gave it
speculated
all.
on him like crazy.
They
They're
what?
like, who is he? Who is he? Who could he be?
Yeah.
Right? Even from Abraham's story.
Yeah.
But listen to the story. Here's the whole story, so that you get it firsthand. Listen to how little he's in the story. At that time, when Amphirel was the king of Shinar, which is Babylon, Arioch, king of, I can't get any of that. These kings went to war against Bera, king of Sodom, Bersha, king of Gomorrah, Shinab, king of Admah, Shemember, king of, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. All these later kings joined forces in the valley of Siddim, that is the Dead Sea Valley. So they're right in the Promised Land. They're right by Jerusalem. And it's, 4 kings against 5 kings, I think. For 12 years they had been subject to this guy, but in the 13th year they rebelled. We're not listening to that guy anymore. In the 14th year, and why this is relevant is because Abraham's in the land, right? This is right after Abraham and Lot split up, and Lot goes to move by Sodom and Gomorrah, and Abraham goes the other way. Well, the battle happens right there. Sodom and Gomorrah is right at the Dead Sea, right? So Lot's going to get caught up in this battle. The kings allied in the 14th year, Kedorlaomer, not bad, and the kings allied with him went out and defeated the Raphites in blah, 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 and the Horites in the hill country of Seir. They returned back and went to these places, and they conquered the whole territory of the Amalekites, as well as the Amorites who lived in this other place. The king of Sodom and the king of Gomorrah, the king of Admah, the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, that is Zor, marched out and drew up battle lines in the valley of the Dead Sea, right? Against these other guys. 4 kings against 5. There it is right there. Now, the valley of Sedem was full of tar pits, and when the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, some of the men fell into them, and the rest of the fled to the hills. The 4 kings seized the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah and all the food. Then they went away. They also carried away, here it is, Abraham's nephew Lot and his possessions, since he was living in Sodom. So Sodom gets carried away, or Lot in all his possessions, which is a lot. He's very, very wealthy. Gets taken away. A man who escaped came to report this to Abraham, the Hebrew. Now Abraham was living near the great tree of Mamre, which is terrible because that's where, you know, they're hiding the altars, and that's probably a point of worship and idolatry right there. The Amorite, a brother of Eshcol and Aner, all whom were allied with Abram. When Abram heard that his relative had been taken captive, he called out 318 trained men born in his household and went in pursuit as far as Dan. During the night, Abram divided his men to attack them and routed them, pursuing them as far as Habor, north of Damascus. He recovered all the goods, brought back his relative Lot and his possessions, together with the women and other people. So big, huge victory. Abraham brings back all the spoils, rescues all the people. It's great, great victory. Here it is. That's most of the story.
That'd be a good movie, huh?
Yeah, be a good, yeah. After Abram returned from defeating this guy and the kings allied with him, the king of Sodom came out to meet him in the valley, that is the King's Valley. All right. So, my marker. Abraham's over here. Abraham and Sodom and Gomorrah down by the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea. And these kings over here, 4 or 5, I don't know. And these kings, Sodom and Gomorrah and Jerusalem and these other kings. These guys sweep down, swallow all this up, and take it back that way, right? One guy escapes. He comes with 318, and he brings it all back. And now he's traveling back home. He's going to drop everyone off on his way through, right? Okay, that's all that's happened that we know of. Now here we go. Verse 17. After Abram returned from defeating Kedorlaomer and the kings allied with him, the king of Sodom came out to meet him in the valley of Shavah, that's the king's valley. Then Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine, and he was priest of El Elyon, God Most High, right? God Most High. And he blessed Abraham, saying, "Blessed be Abraham by God Most High, creator of heaven and earth. And praise be to God Most High, who delivered your enemies into your hands." Then Abraham gave him 1/10 of everything. The king of Sodom said to Abram, the king of Sodom said, "Give me the people and keep the goods for yourself." But Abraham said to the king of Sodom, with a raised hand, "I have sworn an oath to Yahweh, God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, that I will accept nothing belonging to you, not even a thread or a scrap from a sandal, so that you will never be able to say, 'I made Abraham rich.' I will accept nothing but what my men have eaten, and the share that belongs to the men who went with me, to Abner, and let them have their share." So you can, these real heroes, yeah, reward them, but give me nothing. You don't get to say you blessed me or helped me or did anything. He says that to the king of Sodom, but to Melchizedek,
He gave him 10.
not only does he let him bless him, right? He comes out and blesses Abraham. The author of Hebrews is going to say clearly it's the greater who blesses the lesser. So Melchizedek is blessing Abraham, not the other way around. In the situation with Sodom,
Yeah.
it's like Abraham is blessing him. No, you get all your stuff back. Abraham's greater, he's blessing that guy, but Melchizedek blesses Abraham. What's up with that? So if it's true that the greater blesses the lesser, then who is this Melchizedek? Who is he greater than? Abraham. Who's greater than Abraham? How could Abraham run into someone who's greater than him when we know the story of Abraham? And Abraham pays him a tenth. Then Abraham gave him a tenth of what? Everything. So even before he gives the king of Sodom anything,
Yeah.
he gives a tenth of that guy's stuff away.
Yeah.
And a tenth of Lot's stuff. He gives away a tenth of everything. What did he do? What did he do? Why does he get anything?
Yeah. He just showed up to bless him.
All he did was show up with bread and wine.
Yeah.
And that's curious, right? It's curious.
Right.
You know, it's
Yeah.
curious.
Yeah,
Curious.
that's really.
I'll just say it's
I just
curious.
happened to be here with a whole joy and
It's
love.
curious. It's curious. The whole story's curious. But that's it. That's the whole story. How many verses is Melchizedek in?
One or two.
18, 19, and 20. That's it. 18, 19, 20. 3 verses, the whole entire story, except that in that culture, greater blesses the lesser. And Abraham doesn't stop him. Abraham stops the king of Sodom. Abraham does not stop this guy. So the Jews are like, who is he? Who is he? Now, okay, all right. Now, if you tried to read the Old Testament,
Yeah, fall
Yeah.
asleep. Right?
where do you get locked up on? Everyone answers the same way. Where do you stop reading? As soon as you hit the genealogies,
Genealogies.
right?
Oh, yeah.
As soon as you
Blah,
hit
blah,
the
blah, blah, blah,
genealogy, you just skip right over, just like I did right here. You just look for when those are going to stop, and you jump back into the story, right? It's too much. The words are weird, the names are weird,
You don't
the
remember any life,
genealogies
so
are
what-
weird. And whose genealogies do you have?
You have Jesus' genealogy.
Sure, but in the Old
Oh, in
Testament,
Old Testament.
all the important people.
Yeah, I was gonna say probably Abraham.
All of them. All the important people. You have them all. And so begot so-and-so.
Yeah.
Even when they're bad guys. Lamech.
Yeah.
We know who Lamech's father is. We know who Lamech's children are. We know how long he lived. Right? We know all these things. We know Cain, who his dad was, who his kids were. The whole line, like, oh, that's why they're bad. Like, you can trace all of that stuff. Who's his father? Who's Melchizedek's dad?
They probably won't even mention it.
We don't know.
I just read.
The Father.
Did you hear whose
Creator.
father was? You didn't hear about a father, did you? Who's his kids?
Yeah, no.
You didn't hear about that either.
No.
When? How old is he?
Mhm.
When does he die? When was he born? You don't know any of that.
No.
Does that mean he doesn't have a father? In this first story, if all you had was this story, would you assume Melchizedek
Yes. 'cause-
doesn't have a father?
Oh, no, I would assume he comes from a father, though.
Yeah, of course you would.
Because he's a human being, obviously.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You would assume he has a father,
Yeah, you just think
just
that
like the
way.
king of Melchizedek, the king of Sodom. Do we know who his father is? Do we know who his kids are? Do we know how old he is? No, but he's not an important character. We don't care. We don't have that on non-important characters.
Yeah.
They run into them all the time. We don't care about them. Melchizedek's unbelievably important. How do I know that? The greater
Hebrews.
blesses the lesser. So, he blesses Abraham. Who is he that he could dare bless Abraham? It's a riddle. It's a riddle. So, the argument in Hebrews, though, is just a simple one. Don't go back to the law.
Yeah.
Because it's prophesied it's going away. And it's prophesied by David. David says, when the Messiah comes, he's going to be a king priest and not a priest in the order of Levi. And so if Levi's going away, the whole law has to go away. That's the entire argument in Hebrews, right? So now we're just speculating who Melchizedek is. There's three options. There's three options. He's either a good guy, a bad guy, or he is Jesus. That's three choices. Lots of people think he is a pre-incarnate Christ. So Jesus shows up and blesses Abraham, and he only shows up to put the riddle in the story. We need this riddle.
Yeah.
So that David would speculate and people would know the law's going away, right? How do you tell people before there is a law that when I do give a law hundreds of years from now,
It ain't gonna matter.
it's only temporary? How do you do that? You do it this way.
Yeah.
You just put this story,
Yeah.
and then somewhere later you say, oh yeah, ultimately it's going to be like that previous story.
Yeah.
I'll give you another, well, I'll wait for Devin on that one. So people go, it's Jesus, and he showed up for the point of the story. And the clues of Jesus are, in fact, he literally doesn't have a father. He literally doesn't have a mother. He literally is never born. He literally never dies. And he brings out bread and wine.
But it's
Has
just
to
the
be
information
Jesus.
that we don't have, though, you know what I mean?
Yes. It's just we don't
We have a
it.
guy that was
Yeah.
the priest for God Most High in the time of Abraham,
Yeah.
and that was what pleased God, was having a man who would
Because
be the priest for him, you know?
nobody else followed
It can't
God
be.
except Abraham.
Can't be. Right. That's right. That's why it can't be. The only one it can't be is that he's a good guy. Cannot be a good guy.
Okay.
Is either Jesus or a bad guy. Why? Because what's the story of Genesis? Chapter 11, chapter 3, human sin. Chapter 6, the whole world sins, God floods it. Chapter 11, Tower of Babel, who's there? Everyone on the planet, it says. All the people came together in Tower of Babel. God comes down, spreads the nations out, and then he chooses one man who was a pagan, and he brings him in, and he says, if you follow me, I will be your God, and you're my people. Abraham. Abraham runs into a guy who claims to be a priest. If he's a real priest to Yahweh, if what he means is Yahweh, then why would God ever choose Abraham? He already has a priesthood. He already has a city that's faithful. He already has a group of people that didn't go to the Tower of Babel, who stayed away. He already has righteous people. It can't be that, or else God would never have chosen Abraham. So here's how that works out. If you, watch up here. Watch up here. And it's very important. So, Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. He was priest of El Elyon, God Most High. El Elyon, Most High. God Most High. Okay? What we know for sure, through archaeology and everything else, that in Canaan, right where this is, they worshipped a god, pagan god, called El Elyon, God Most High. So he claims to be a priest of El Elyon, God Most High. Every religion, by the way, has a god and claims that one of them, at least if you're multi-godded or if you're monotheistic, that your God's the Most High God. So it's not a common, it's a very, very common name. I worship the God Most High. Who is he? Creator of heaven and earth. Ooh, the real God Most High? And praise be to El Elyon, who delivered you. And then what does Abraham say? Then Abraham gave him a tenth of everything, and the king of Sodom came. But Abraham said to the king of Sodom with raised hand, I have sworn an oath to Yahweh, God Most High. Abraham changes it. He doesn't leave it El Elyon. He adds Yahweh. Yeah, not your God Most High, but Yahweh, God Most High, creator of heaven and earth. Abraham adds Yahweh. This guy does not. Does that mean? Does that mean those are two different gods? You're pulling threads, but we know through archaeology, we can dig up, they worship El Elyon, and they didn't worship Yahweh. And Abraham says, I worship Yahweh, El Elyon. Yeah. Also, but the bigger point is, it doesn't follow the Genesis story. Adam sin, Noah, Tower of Babel, God calls one person, and he even isn't faithful, and God slowly reveals himself to that one person, and through that person he's going to save the world. If you interject, oh no, in Jerusalem, they're faithfully serving God, and they even have a priesthood. A priesthood? How could they have a priesthood before the law? What would that even mean? How? So, I think you can just easily rule a good guy out. He can be Jesus. People make a good case. Why you would say it's not Jesus is because the author of Hebrews is very specific. In chapters 1 and 2, we were there for weeks. The Old Testament has Jesus. God makes all these
two
oaths
Yahwehs.
to Jesus, two Yahwehs. But when we get to Melchizedek, he doesn't do that. He just says he's like Melchizedek. He's in the order of Melchizedek. He resembles Melchizedek. He never says it. He's not afraid to say it. He spent 2 chapters saying it, that Jesus is in the Old Testament. But when he gets to Melchizedek, he's only like Melchizedek. So if he's like him and not him, and he can't be a good guy, or breaks the whole story of Genesis, like, doesn't even make sense all of a sudden. Like, he's in the promised land. Abraham, God says, listen, I'm going to send you back here in 400 years when their sin is complete and your descendants are going to kill them all off. Wait, he's priest to, he's your priest, and Melchizedek's my descendants are going to kill off his descendants. Like, why would that happen? Like, if he's a good guy and he's really the king of Jerusalem, before it's Jerusalem, just Salem, Canaan's full of good people, not bad people. Canaan's like the pit of the earth, which is why God's like, we gotta wipe these people out. Can't be good. So it could be Jesus, or it could be we have a really important character, and every important character we know his genealogy. We know when he was born, how he, like, we have it of every character, but now we have a very important character without mother, without father, without genealogy, without a birth date, without a death date, and he's super important. We can't ignore that fact. And look at Jesus. He literally has no father or mother, but he does have actually a mother, right?
Right.
He does, Mary, but not in his deity, not in his Psalm 110, you're a priest forever in the order of Melchizedek. In that part of Jesus, honestly, so he's a type. So in Genesis is written, we have an important character without that stuff stated. That's totally unique. Find me another important character in all the first, any of writings of Moses, 5 books, where you don't know anything about that important character. But he's more important than Abraham, because the greater blesses the lesser. I tend to go here, because it fits the story of Genesis. He's worshiping El Elyon, and he's the perfect type. Don't forget, the snake on the pole is a type. The ark is a type. The rock is a type. Joseph, people can be a type. Joseph is a type. So it doesn't have to be, like Joseph's a good one, but the snake on a pole is also a type, a very important type. It doesn't have to be good. The snake on the pole is not good.
But he blesses Abraham, wouldn't you have to have something good about you to?
So Abraham lets him bless
Does
him,
he?
and that's a bit of a riddle. We don't know why Abraham did that. People speculate, and I don't know how real this is or not. Well, we don't know why he blessed him.
Yeah.
People speculate that if you were taking booty through another, if you went off to war and I have to cross through your land and I go win and now I'm bringing tons of treasure back through your land, that if I don't want to have to fight you, I give you 10%. People say that's what Abraham is doing, and that king knows that that's what Abraham's going to do because that's just what they do. And so his natural stance is, hey, I'm going to get 10% of all this. I'm going to come out, I'm going to bring food, and I'm going to bless them. And then they're going to give me 10%. And they're going to, I don't know how real all that is, if that's pure speculation, but that's what I was kind of trained with, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I've heard that argument.
Yeah, now I don't know if that's real. I tend to, maybe it is, I tend to like, oh, it's written on purpose as a riddle. It's a riddle, like they were supposed to, and they did. They were like, who could this be, and what could this mean? And then David shows up, and it's just God tipping his hand, and I think it's all mysterious. It's all mysterious, and it's supposed to be, because it's a type of Messiah. But it's not mysterious. The bit that isn't mysterious is that when David writes Psalm 110, it's absolute that the law is going to go away. I'll tell you another thing that I think that's exactly like it in Genesis, and with this we're done, is that when Jacob is running away, Jacob and Esau. When Jacob betrays Esau and takes the birthright, and he has to run away, or else Esau's going to kill him, and his mom says, "Go back to the land of your fathers," right? Go back to those idol worshippers. That'll be great for you. On the way, he wrestles with God, right? And he's at Bethel, and what does he declare there? He finally falls asleep, and he gets a vision. What's the vision? You know? You do know, actually. I'll draw it right in the middle of all this. Right? What does he see?
Oh, the ladder.
He sees the ladder.
Okay.
Right? He sees the ladder or the stairway to heaven. Right? He sees a stairway to heaven. It's cool because the language of that text is you can't tell. So he sees Yahweh, and the word he chooses to use is, you can't tell if he means he sees Yahweh up here or Yahweh down here. And of course he means both, right? Two Yahwehs, it's beautiful. But, so Yahweh in heaven and Yahweh on earth, it's just perfect. But he declares what? What does he declare that space? He declares that space as the connection of heaven to earth. Heaven and earth are connected at Bethel. Well, what does that tell you about Jerusalem?
Yeah.
When is Jerusalem declared? That's in the law. The law comes, right? I'm going to make a place, and it's going to be Mount Moriah. It's going to be the temple, and David did it, and it's the law, and it's the priesthood. It's Jerusalem. Wait a minute. No. Back here, long before the law, the priesthood of Melchizedek is a mystery, and heaven and earth are connected, not at Jerusalem. It won't be the law. It won't be the priesthood or the location. That's not the heart of it all. And I think we get all those little riddles in Genesis so that when they got to the law, they should know, hey, this is temporary. So right in Jeremiah, then the prophets come and say, oh yeah, there's going to be a new covenant. Like, Paul's whole argument is, Abraham's before the law. Like, how are you guys putting so much energy into the law when
Did you
Before
read your
the
Bible?
law, all these clues are here that this is what's real, and the law is temporary. And the law is to point out sin and failure. It's not here to save us. It's a messenger. It's just a sign. I fall here, that he's a bad guy. My mom, I could never convince her I was right. She believed it was Jesus, a pre-incarnate Christ. I'm fine with either of those. I don't think it matters. That's not what the author of Hebrews is trying to say. The author of Hebrews is just simply going off Psalm 110 and saying, if 600 years into the law, David is clearly prophesying about when the Messiah comes, there's a brand new priesthood. What does that tell you about the law? It's gone. And if there's a new priesthood, there has to be a new law. Because you can't just willy-nilly slip in a new priesthood. That's why Jesus had to, when he says, I didn't come to destroy the law, I came to fulfill it. The law has to be fulfilled so it can be set aside. And then, but it has to go away, or else he can't be priest. So he has to fulfill it. And yes, then it can go away. But it's not destroyed. It's not violated. It's fulfilled. And then every contract, when it's fulfilled, is now meaningless. It's now null and void. Unless it's a vow that you're a priest forever.
Like
vow that it's forever.
Melchizedek, like that bad guy Melchizedek, you know?
Yeah.
He had to be really powerful too, though, for him to go eat down there. You
Oh,
know
he
what I
did,
mean?
yeah. No, he had
And
to.
that's how they would
He had
have
to be
handled
real.
wars back then too, though. It's like that, right?
And there's probably a reason why those kings didn't go take that
Yeah.
place. Because, no, we're not
Yep.
messing with Melchizedek.
And like,
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm getting right now is like God saying, "Oh yeah, you know how powerful that priesthood was? Yeah, that's because technically, if he's saying that Melchizedek of God Most High, right? What's the word you said?
El,
El
that's God. Elyon.
Elyon, right? But then Abraham recognizes it because he already had conversations with God, right? So he calls him who he is, right? Do you think Melchizedek was worshiping a fallen or a watcher or
I
a
do,
council member? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then, where he would believe
Yeah.
that guy created the heavens and earth.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so with that, he has so much knowledge of how the
And
world
that's
is.
early on for
Yeah.
for a fallen watcher to already be claiming to be the creator of heaven and earth. That's a real rebellion in the heavenlies.
Yeah.
If that watcher's already out there,
Yep.
like I'm not just a watcher. I created this.
And you
place.
said, you created Tanin
Yeah.
and called it good.
Yeah. Yeah. All that.
Is that not good?
All that's
'Cause
in there.
that's what's going to bring us back to Jesus Christ as being the high priest. You know what I mean?
And I think that's true to the story of Genesis. Then Abraham is the only one following and getting to know Yahweh.
Yes.
And the rest of them are just confused with who they're watching. And that doesn't mean they can't be types.
Yeah.
Because a type doesn't bear the weight of being good or even being a human. It can be a snake. It can be a rock. It can be an ark. It can be anything. And it can be a lamb. It can be an altar. It can be like every piece of the tabernacle is a type of Christ. It's wood and gold and all those pieces, he says, they all mean something.
I'm not sure if it was Christ. I'm getting to the point because you wouldn't come in and then you wouldn't stay. I mean, if it was Jesus, I think it would be for one act or one,
Yeah.
and I don't think he would become
And if it's Jesus,
so that
then
didn't
it's
make-
the angel of the Lord.
Yeah.
And Moses meets that guy again and again. Are we to believe that the angel of the Lord takes on a different persona every time Abraham meets him?
Yeah.
No. Oh, I know who you are.
Yeah.
You're the angel of the Lord. And the angel of the Lord usually accepts worship, and usually there's some kind of sacrifice to him, as opposed to just, divvying up the booty. And if it's Jesus, what's he going to do with the 10% of all the booty?
Why do they
You
call
get
it
into
booty,
you
though?
get into
Giving
weird-
up the booty? You know, like,
Because
you
that
guys
means
come
he's
up with a
gathering
different word,
slaves. He's getting slaves, he's getting
Yeah.
money,
Yeah.
he's getting people.
Why would he stay on earth?
What is
I mean,
Jesus
that's-
going to do with
yeah,
all
why
that?
would Jesus stay on earth?
I'm leaving, you're free.
Yeah.
It breaks the story apart.
And wouldn't Jesus have claimed that title in the New Testament? You know what I mean?
It seems like it.
You know, like he claimed all those other titles, you know, like the
Yeah.
kingdom is like this.